1. What's up, everybody? It's Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/thehardyconstructionvideos comp,
Tainted Love,
as well as
Playa.
from horrorharbor.tumblr.com. I love every time we talk to her, she takes a whole 3 seconds to answer her name. It's session 9, right? Danny, what's
It's
the...
not a delay.
No, she's building it up. It's like, oh, what's she gonna say this time? And she always surprises us with her name.
It's funny because every episode it literally drives me insane when we do that. Okay, so
I
Danny,
love it.
what's...
I should probably say it. I should probably say it while Danny is saying his name, because then maybe it won't be
come on
delayed.
time.
You know what you should do? You should do a countdown. You should be like 3, 2, 1.
And put Mississippi on it too. All right, so Danny, what's the film today?
It is session 9, 2001.
Session 9, 2001, directed by Brad Anderson, written by Brad Anderson and Stephen Gavadin. I hope that's how his name said. Tensions rise within an asbestos cleaning crew as they work in an abandoned mental hospital with a horrific past that seems to be coming back. Sophia, what is this film about?
This film is about a group of characters who are cleaning the asbestos out of an old insane asylum, basically, yes?
Danvers Institute, I believe,
which is just a recipe for
Danvers
disaster.
I mean, as soon as it's an insane asylum, you know it's gonna be spooky.
I mean, like, I'm in real life, and if I ever got invited to an insane asylum, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. Like, especially like when it's closed down and I'm only there with 4 people and it's shaped like a bat.
Most likely it wouldn't be your
all
choice,
these horror
Danny.
stories.
Yeah. So session 9, Thea, you've seen this film, you said 3 times, right?
Yes.
What was your first experience watching this film?
My first time watching, it was one of those movies that we picked up, like, when there was still a Rogers Video around the corner.
A Rogers Video?
Is that like the Blockbuster
I've never heard
of
of that.
Canada?
It was like our block. Well, we had a Blockbuster too, but that closed down first.
I love how
Okay.
Thea mentioned Rogers Video. Like, me and Danny were going to be like, holy
Yeah, I'm
shit.
like, what is that? Is that like a chain in Canada?
A video store that still had rentals.
That's better, okay?
Yeah, who's Roger? Yeah.
That's much better.
USA.
I
USA.
had to put my Canadian stank on it.
No, I like it.
So,
I like
you got this from Rogers Video, and what was your experience watching this film the first time?
We typically had very low expectations for anything we rented horror-wise from the video store, because it was a lot of it was like 90%, I would say, was bad.
Right.
So I went in with fairly low expectations, and this one actually spooked me pretty good.
You watched it 3 times. You must have liked it.
I liked it. I've introduced it to other people. I showed Heather it a couple months back, I think. So that was the last time I watched it.
I think it's a good indicator of taste within friends. Like, when they watch it, and if they like it or if they find it stupid, you can be like, okay, next time we'll just watch some shitty movie because you don't like something. Because
I'd go for shitty movies on purpose.
That's
yeah, but I mean, like, sometimes you want to have decent conversations about a film after. I guess, I don't know. I don't think Danny and I really have any decent conversations at all. Anyway, but
no, not about any topic actually.
You record all of them, and they're
yeah,
here.
that's it. We don't have to talk anymore after that. Yeah, but I think the first time I saw this movie was probably like 2 or 3 years after it came out, or something like that. It was 2001, right? So yeah, I saw it probably like after a little bit of time came by, because I don't even know why I saw it. I just knew it was about a haunted house thing, and I remember when I first saw it, I was kind of thrown off by the shot-on-video look. But I got used to it this time for some reason. I don't know why I enjoyed it more this time, the second time around. But I mean, I enjoyed it the
Maybe because
first.
you've seen more things that have that sort of quality about them anyway.
Yeah, it's
just worse quality.
I thought it looked
it's true.
nice, actually.
No, yeah, I think it looks really cool, and I think it's appropriate for the film. What's weird is that I remember there was a film called Miami Vice, which was like a film version of the TV show that had come out, and it had Jamie Foxx and I think Colin Farrell.
Isn't that a cop show?
Yes, and it was like, and if you watch the show from the 80s, it looks like it's shot on film. You know, it's like a film show. And then when the movie came out, it was shot digital, just like this movie was, but it was really glaringly bad. And that was done by like a Hollywood director, and like $100 million budget. But this film, I think, is much more appropriate for its setting. I think it gives it some sort of weird documentary found footage film, but it's never found footage. It's more like found audio. But I think Brad Anderson, the director himself, has done a couple of films. I think I've seen them before. Let me see. He made a film called Happy Accidents, which is completely,
Pooping your pants.
totally different style of film. I think you and Heather would actually love it, Thea. It's a awesome quasi time travel love film. And
Okay.
it stars Marissa Tomei and Vincent D'Onofrio, but it's like so like indie. It's not even funny. It came out in 2000, so I guess this was the film that came out before this one. But like totally anybody watch that film. It's
Imagine
just
that whole movie is about Marissa Tomei has to go back in time to stop
Kingpin.
Vincent D'Onofrio from killing himself in Full Metal Jacket,
Oh, I was gonna
so
say
that way
Kingpin,
that
but I
they
guess
can
I
get
missed it.
married and have kids.
Whoa, that was an inside joke. But yeah, Session 9. But Brad Anderson, I could have sworn, yeah, he did The Machinist, which is
Oh,
another
that's a good movie.
psychological horror film starring Christian Bale. That was the movie that was like really famous more for Christian Bale losing a lot of weight to act in it as opposed to the
Yeah,
film
and then
itself.
like a day later he was in Batman and he was like buff.
And The Machinist was a good film, but it sort of had a really predictable sort of ending. And I think he hasn't like he made a movie with Holly Berry called The Call, which I think nobody saw, and Trans-Siberian, which I hear is good, but he's sort of like I think is stuck doing television direction now, which sucks.
Right.
But well, actually, no, television is actually sort of better than film nowadays. But he's doing Man in the High Castle, which I thought was pretty neat. I only saw 2 episodes of that. He did Zoo. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so let's
He
get
did
back.
episodes of horror apparently
What's
that I
Zoo?
don't remember.
I would, yeah, I would
Which one did he?
assume
What should he do?
he did Masters of
He
Horror.
did
You say?
Masters of Horror. It was called Sounds Like.
Yeah. So oh, he did The Wire too. Okay, good for him. That's a good show.
Yes.
Yeah. So Masters of Horror. Oh, he also did Vanishing. We're like getting into this guy's director's film, but
Well, he's got a very like eclectic
Yeah.
sort of background of things.
he also
I
did
couldn't
this.
believe that David Caruso was in this. That made me really happy,
Yeah.
actually.
It's an interesting cast. It's kind of like it's all people you recognize from various.
I
things,
totally
feel.
knew Gordon, but I couldn't place him. And then Larry Fassbender showed up out of nowhere.
Festin.
Fassbender, whatever the fuck his name is, that
Yes.
weird-looking guy. With
Yeah, I
the
didn't
crazy
recognize
hair.
him because he was a lot thinner in this, like, and younger, and it
It's
was
just weird. He's such a strange, like, you know exactly who he is face, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into these characters. The film's main character, as you see, is Gordon, and he's Gordon Fleming, played by Peter Mullen. And how did you guys know?
Gordon!
Who says it like that in the movie? Nobody does. Okay,
No,
so
I don't
Peter
know what I'm
Mullen.
thinking of, but I picture somebody being like, Gordon!
You think
That's
he was?
just how Danny says it in his sleep.
Hey, Danny,
Exactly.
you
When
think-
I sleep, I wake up and I just start saying Gordon, and that's
Gordon?
a different personality, though.
Mhm.
It eats food and says Gordon. Go on.
So Gordon is the main guy. He owns an asbestos cleaning company that he runs with 2 or 3 guys. And I think for this job in this film, he brings on his nephew, played by Brendan Sexton III, who I thought is like the worst actor in the movie for some reason. Although he's been in other
I
stuff.
thought he was
that
okay.
Nah, I couldn't get it. Like the part where he's telling a joke to other guys, he's really selling it over hard, and I'm like, what the hell? But I mean, whatever. He's still a good actor. I mean, he was in Seven Psychopaths and Black Hawk Down. He's still working. He's a good actor. But in this one, for some reason, I was like, well, his age like really showed for some reason to me.
Well, he's supposed to be like a little kid.
Yeah, but I mean, the acting of it was, I don't know, for me. All right, leave me alone, Danny. What you want from my life? Okay, so
I
there's
want you to
also.
apologize to him.
I'm
okay?
sorry, Brendan Sexton III.
Gordon! Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Adam's Family, the mother that's calling Uncle Fester Gordon. That's his name before they find out he's Uncle Fester. And she's like, Gordon? Gordon, are you in there? And she's trapped inside the plants and shit.
So
Outside the
there's
mansion? Okay.
Stephen Gavaden, who plays Mike. He co-wrote this film. It's weird because he has such a face that looks like any other like second build guy, like the actor, that I felt like I've seen him in everything, but I probably haven't seen him in anything else. And he plays Mike, who becomes obsessed with the
He's in
audio.
Oz. Actually, that's where I knew him from.
Okay, he plays the audio. He's the one obsessed with the audio recordings of Mary's different personas showing up. There's also David Caruso, like Danny said earlier, playing Phil. How would you describe Phil's character, Thea?
I would describe Phil's character as sort of he's like the traditional angry divorcee, I guess. He's not even divorced. He's
Yeah,
just
he's-
he's lost his girlfriend
He's like a
to
douche.
Hank, right?
Yeah, and speaking of Hank, there's Josh Lucas, who I thought for some reason I thought that guy would have been a bigger actor when he came out because he sort of was Bradley Cooper before Bradley Cooper. I don't know if that makes any sense because they have that similar look of he doesn't look anything like a leading man in this film because he's like an actual actor in this film, but he has that blue eyes, blonde hair sort of look when he first came out. He was like in a handful of movies where he was sort of the lead, but he never made it. He basically looked like how Bradley Cooper looked in Wedding Crasher. You know, that sort of evil white guy look. But he
Well,
just
I think he looks great.
no,
I
he's,
mean, I
well,
think
you
he's
look
great. I
you
think
look
he's a
just
great actor.
you look
is what
just
I
like
think.
him in this
He
movie.
He looks
did.
great.
I like him.
So
He's got this sort of like likable charm thing going on that I think that is the same kind of thing.
it's sort of a sweet smugness to him. But anyway, so these five gentlemen are working for this asbestos company. We see at the beginning of the film that Gordon Fleming is sort of stressed out, and we don't really know why. I mean, he's
Oh boy, is he!
Well, you learn early on-ish that I think Phil sort of congratulates him, like, "Oh, congratulations on your new baby girl," because his wife just had a baby, and I think he alludes that that's sort of part of his stress is not only providing for his family, but the sort of sleeplessness of having a newborn and how it's sort of messing with him, just like energy-wise.
And he's poor, like he needs the money really
Yeah,
bad.
so which is why he promises that his team is going to clean this whole hospital of asbestos in a week.
Yeah, in a
He could
week.
have said a week and a half or something.
Yeah,
Because I think he
because
needs.
like the next best company is doing it is promising to do it in 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I think they're expecting them to do it in 3 weeks actually, but he cuts it
Right.
down to 1 week, and they're being led around the Danvers Mental Institute by Paul Guilfoyle, a guy that I think everybody's seen in films before and TV shows, playing Bill Griggs. He's basically the guy that is like setting up, he's basically setting out the hook for who wants to get this job. So it's one of those gigs where
He's the pitcher.
basically. And then he goes through what these companies are offering, and then he'll pick them. He's not really a main character in this film, but he's sort of the setup, and he gets introduced to other characters. But the relationship between Gordon and Phil sort of seems like a not a one body deal, like where it's like two-headed monster sort of thing. It's more like Gordon is in charge, but as he's explained to be, he's supposed to be very zen, even though he deals with these very stressful sort of gigs. And
So he's supposed to be the sort of stable
right,
one.
and Phil is
Who
the more
Gordon is?
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's sort of how he's painted originally, right?
Yeah.
He's sort of
he's been stable
purely
up until
force.
he's been stable up until this film, Danny.
Right.
And
Oh, I
obviously,
see.
if anybody's been
Mm-hmm.
listening, hopefully they've watched
Because
the
if
film
that's
already.
stable,
then so is Danny.
Uh-huh.
So David Caruso's Phil is sort of more like the right underneath him, sort of barking the orders to everybody else. He doesn't have to be necessarily as nice as Gordon.
Right.
He's probably the one that's keeping the ship
He's the bad cop.
right.
The good cop, bad cop relationship.
And Mike is a guy who wanted to be a lawyer, but he ended up falling into this sort of business, I guess because his father was a lawyer, and he couldn't pass the bar test. And Hank is just this sort of unnecessarily dickish sort of guy. Apparently, hey, what is his?
Kind of a lays about.
He's quite typical, actually, like having known a lot of people in this type of industry, because my family had a hardware store and shit. Hank is very, very typical.
So Thea, what is Hank's deal with Phil?
So Hank's deal with Phil, as far as I can remember, is Hank has started dating Phil's ex-girlfriend, I guess
Yeah,
it
he
is.
stole Hank's girlfriend.
He stole her away.
Stole
Because
Phil's
that's what
girl.
happens with women. They just get stolen.
That's what
Uh-huh. They don't have individual thoughts. They just do whatever the man wants.
in Trump's America, there'll be property, right, Danny?
That's
I
right.
sure hope so.
Anyway.
They take away the women's right to vote.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you read about that, Danny? Danny's head's gonna
Yeah.
explode.
Let's
But
not even.
wait, let's get into it. So these guys are saying, well, if only men voted, then Trump would win. So let's repeal the 19th
because
Amendment for
Let's
women.
somebody
not
posted
go on
maps.
this
Yeah.
topic.
I
No,
can't
we
believe.
better not, 'cause
Listen,
Danny
Then we could get started on both ends, and I could talk about WikiLeaks and how we knew that there were campaign questions before the campaign and debates actually happened. and how we rigged an election against Bernie and blah blah blah. They're both
Welcome
horrible.
to the political hour.
All
They're
right.
both horrible. The
Danny
end. Let's go
Albert.
on.
The end. So they're all trying to get this job done in a week, and there's sort of cracks, just like in the building itself. The Denver's Danvers Institute that are showing up because the more and more you hear about this location, because it gets into the whole satanic panic stuff in the 80s, and even stuff that was touched upon in American Horror Story, the second season, where just this sort of disgusting horrible conditions that these people went through, like all these mentally
It
disabled.
seemed quite appealing.
In what way, Danny? Please
Everything
explain this
about it
joke.
was great.
So there is this little story that Mike tells the other guys, because Mike is a very learned character, so he knows a lot about the past of these places. And I don't know why I think getting into the lawyer business, he sort of just got interested in the psyche of people, which is something you have to deal with as a lawyer. And he's telling them this story about a past patient, not necessarily in this Danvers place, but it's a fake story, but it's one that's sort of based on a true story where this woman had said she'd gotten raped, and basically raped and taken into a den of satanic people, and they would kill newborns and stuff like this. It was just actually based on stuff that people have said in the 80s. Who knows if it's ever true or not? And that when they went to go check if she was on a physical checkup on her, she was actually a virgin, so she was lying about the whole thing, in which it's still shut
Maybe
down.
the power of Satan gave her back her cherry. Yeah. Is that possible?
Thea, could you answer that? I don't know. I'm just...
If a woman is aroused, she never loses her quote-unquote cherry. That's not you're not supposed to tear anything.
Really? Is that like the congressman that said that a woman can release hormones to stop herself from getting pregnant in the case of a rape?
Nope.
That guy was
Okay.
It's completely different. It's just that
It's actually real. It's not an
your hymen isn't supposed to tear ever.
But it always does, I thought. All right.
Nope. It's not supposed to.
You asshole.
You know.
So
Anatomy lessons with Daniel Albert.
I didn't know that, honestly. That's like a new thing I just learned.
There you
See,
go.
here's the
I
funny
thought
thing.
it was like a given that it always is going to tear when the girl has sex.
Here's the thing, Danny. I didn't know that either, but I'm not a moron to say that I don't know it. Okay,
Well,
so
I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person. Who cares?
Nope, people don't know, honestly. And
so
Who would know that? Why would I know that?
Thea, what kind of mood does this film set that you remember?
it sets a trepidatious mood.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean, you feel like you're sort of very much a part of this crew of guys. I think that's part of because they set the characters up fairly well.
Right.
And they let you into their lives and sort of the like relationships that are independent within the group. And then because you're so close to these people in this huge asylum, which is already creepy, you feel even more like isolated almost with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did a really good job tone-wise.
I also
Like
think
it
that
felt
the
atmosphere's good.
they did a really good job utilizing the space. Because apparently they only used like a fourth of the actual location. Like they didn't use all of it at all.
Right.
And
Okay.
and I mean, and for a place, I mean, you felt like there was like
every shot was a new room. It was,
yeah.
And
s-
interesting
same
rooms.
room.
They picked good they picked even good locations within that huge building,
I
right?
thought that actually the music, like, it actually reminded me a lot of The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way the music
Yeah, right,
was.
yeah, that's what I was
'cause
gonna
it,
say.
Like, really sets this like creepy feeling.
Complements it nicely.
That's what I was
Yeah.
saying. Like this film and The Shining pretty much utilized the location for the film 100%. It felt like it felt like a living, breathing place as well. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, oh, okay, you don't know what's going to be around the next corner, and that's what's interesting about it. Because there's a lot of films that reuse the same location. Let's say, like a good use of space is Cube. Because it's basically using
Right.
one room, but it's the camera movements that are making them
And lighting,
interesting.
basically. Yeah.
But this film itself actually has a location that's massive enough that you want to see what's in the other room. You want to look at these other places because they're so. And for the most part, they said they didn't really have to do any real window dressing or set
Right.
design. The only room that they had the set designs were the ones that had the newspaper clippings and stuff like that. But that leads also to Mike, who finds a bunch of session tapes, which are these.
Horror mistake number 2. If you find old creepy tapes, never play them.
Don't
ever.
play them.
Especially in the mental institution, it's too, that's, you're pushing it, buddy.
So this is what it says per Wikipedia. As work begins inside the asylum, Mike finds a box containing 9 taped sessions with a patient named Mary Hobbs.
The titular sessions.
Yes, and you always know
Titular.
you're looking up
Titular.
at when they're looking at the tapes and it says session 1, session 2. It's like, when's that fucking session 9 tape coming up? You son of a bitch! You're talking to the movie itself.
That's right.
So what is Danny? If you remember, well, you were the one who just saw it recently. Mary Hobbs. What happened to her? What is this conversation that she's having with her one of the psychiatrists at the house?
She has like multiple personalities, like 3 multiple personalities. The princess, Billy,
Right.
and Simon, and then herself. And basically, it's just the whole time is this therapist trying to figure out, what she did, or why she did it, and they can't get to Simon, who's one of the personalities, but he keeps hearing about Simon, but won't
From the other personalities,
from
yeah.
the other personalities. Well, Mary doesn't know anything. Billy
Right.
knows something, and Princess is innocent and knows nothing either.
Yeah, and these
so
are
really Billy is the one that knows the most.
Because
Yeah.
Billy's sort of like the protective personality.
yeah, and these are notations that Mike is making throughout the whole film. What do you think Mike's intention was that he was getting so obsessed with this? Why didn't he just take all this stuff home? Why did he leave it there? Obviously, it would be for film.
Did that case or something, or is that a different case?
I think that was a different
That's a
case. That was
different
the satanic one. I think that was a different case.
All right, maybe he was just interested because he's like a lawyer by nature, so he was curious.
I don't know if they mention if there's something that he's not allowed to take it out of the building, or he thinks that he's not supposed
I
to.
guess he
So
could.
that's why he plays it there and keeps them there.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe
There's something
he's having his lunch break instead of eating food like a normal human. He's gonna listen to horrifying, creepy tapes.
He's like, I don't want to work. I just want to dream.
I
just
will.
wanna-
Listen to these tapes.
I just want to call upon evil spirits, perhaps.
That's right.
Or,
I will say it is.
tempt
I mean,
death.
listening to stuff like that is quite fascinating. But I can't
It
imagine
is.
doing it at a job.
I'll never
No.
do it ever. I don't care.
Well, he knows these guys. He's not under any pressure.
I've seen too much.
What? How would you guys describe the voice acting in this film? Because I told Danny before you saw it, I was like, Danny, this has some of the best audio production I've ever seen for a film, because the audio works really well for a movie. You don't really pay attention to audio. It's basically Foley artists and sound effects guys. But this one they really utilize. It's one of those. It's literally video games where you run around in an area, then you have to listen to audio logs basically the whole time. And this is literally a film version of your tutorial, because this guy Mike is listening to the voice acting. Who's the actress that does the voice? Because she's fucking phenomenal.
Does she do all of them, including Simon? I don't think she does.
Yeah,
Simon.
no, she does. Jurian Hughes.
She does Simon too, though.
Yes, she does all those
Simon
voices.
totally sounded like a guy doing the voice.
No, they have this thing, Danny, where you can alter and slow down voices
Voice
on video.
actors.
Yes, Danny.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm trying to picture it as the real person doing that in the psychiatrist's room.
No, they altered it. Did you think she was real talking like that in real life too? No, they
Shut
you
up.
screwed it. So that's Jurian Hughes, who's actually a yoga instructor now, which is interesting because it'll break
I wouldn't
your.
want to be in her class. She probably teaches you how to swivel your head around 360 degrees.
But I think the voice acting is incredibly good in this film by Jurian Hughes, as well as the doctor, I guess Lonnie Farmer. And it's something that stuck with me, because I remember when I finished the film the first time, the thing that stuck with me was the final line was, "They live in the weak and the wounded, Doc." That part, that's the last line of the film, and that stuck with me for some reason, just the way it's said. And then I remember a sequence here where Gordon's having some sort of waking nightmare of listening to his wife, screaming in horror, and then it cuts to a guy in a hazmat outfit, and you just hear the "Do it, Gordon," that voice, and I was just like, gee, that literally spooked me out. And it's not like a movie with, it's not, it feels like
And then
having a
the Doing
It's
flashback.
good.
voice
It was
is the same Simon voice, right?
What?
Like I was no.
Danny,
go
what's
on.
wrong with you? It's the same actress doing the voice.
I know, that's what
Enough.
I'm saying. I'm saying, like, Gordon is hearing Simon.
Right. Yeah, that's a pretty.
Like, because it was like, is it supernatural
Right,
or is it
that's-
coincidence? Like, I think it's supernatural. I think
That's-
Simon is like
that's
maybe
a
like
very-
a real thing that like made Mary do that. Like,
that's a
he's not,
very
like, a personality.
important. That's a very important question that I pose to you guys. Is this supernatural or is it just coincidence? Thea.
I think it's supernatural. Oh,
Thea.
sorry, Thea, you go first.
Thea.
I mean, it did definitely feel supernatural. It definitely lends itself that way, but that could just be where they're leading you to conclude, right?
Yeah.
So they keep it pretty ambiguous, but I don't know. It feels supernatural, but that's the way the film is, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Danny, what do you think?
Well, if that voice actor that's saying "Do it, Gordon" is the same voice as Simon, which I'm pretty sure it is,
It is, I think.
then that is supernatural. It's like a separate entity.
Well, and
It's
then
like-
there's the things like the lights turning off and like
Yeah.
Hank finding like weird treasure in the rooms underneath and that kind of thing.
You should have taken that money and got the fuck out of there.
For
oh
real.
God, and the eyeball scene. Oh,
Yeah.
Could you live from that? Like,
Yeah, it's-
could you?
Yeah, plenty of people. That's
Well, because that's how they used to do lobotomies, wasn't it?
yeah. If you watched what is that
God.
shitty Zack Snyder movie? Well, I don't know if it's shitty, but apparently people told me it was shitty. Sugar
You hate
Crush.
that
What was
guy.
it? Sugar Crush or it was a movie about all the girls. Like it was like supposed to be
Oh,
a
like it's like a kick-ass
yeah,
type
it was
thing. I know
supposed
what
to
you're
be a
talking about.
woman power movie, but it was like a fetish movie too at the
The
same
girl
time.
that was from that Jimmy. Lemon
Right, whatever. That's
Stick.
that had that what the fuck what were we talking about? The thing when they poke you in the eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eye
Yeah, you're
poke.
smart. You know what it's called. What is it called?
Lobotomy?
Lobotomy, right? It had that. Yeah, lobotomy. Also, here's a hilarious history note. The Kennedy clan, the father had a daughter that was like very sexual. So without telling anybody, he got her lobotomy, and she was fucked up for the rest of her
Jesus.
life. So,
That's great.
and that's and that's basically.
That's like Jeffrey Dahmer's.
Solution all
And I
problems.
believe
Jeffrey Dahmer's dream right there.
I believe from there, yeah, that's true, Jeffrey Dahmer, if you fucking paid attention in science class. Apparently from there, that's what created the Special Olympics because of the sister having that, been so fucked up from the lobotomy. There you go. It's history lesson,
Come
kids.
Is that real?
on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not
Wow.
kidding. Really look it
I'm
up.
gonna have to read up about this now.
Some fucking
I
line.
don't believe that bullshit.
But anyway,
Yeah, wait, yeah, let's find this.
so anyway, let me get. I do think it is a mixture of coincidence and supernatural stuff. Obviously, because when the lights go out, and that that affects the Jeff's character as nyctophobia, which is scared,
Right.
being frightened of the dark. It's so like it's very. But I don't know why Simon would be staying in that area alone. And the thing is, like, apparently Gordon was obviously affected before the film. I mean, before they're even at this job. So it certainly is a coincidence thing. Obviously, if you've seen the film, Gordon had killed his wife and child, and was waiting outside. And they play it very well because we never see him go inside the apartment. It's all flashbacks that we're watching. And he's
So
been
far, you seem to be right about this lobotomy thing.
and he's been staying. You have no shit. So he's been staying inside the Denver's Institute for this whole time. And maybe he got a.
I couldn't remember how clear it was. Do you remember whether it was it before the film or just as the film starts that he kills his wife and kid, or is it sort of like part of the way in?
It's part of the way in.
I think he did it
Okay.
before. I think he came into that
I thought it
because
was
he
part
had
of the way in. That was
because he had the remember he was touching
No,
his.
he says I hit my wife. I went back the day after.
But Danny,
You know,
he's
to
still
celebrate after this.
he's still having a conversation on the phone with her, and she's been dead. And then like also he had the burn on his leg. Remember?
No, I know, but when he tells the story of when he hit her, he's saying, which is when he killed her, but he's saying
after
hit.
the job started.
He's saying he was celebrating. He came home to celebrate getting this job.
Oh, okay.
So he had been in the place, and then he killed her. So it's possible
Okay,
when he
so I
went
guess so.
there that Simon like infected him.
Why would
Because he did look at that chair. Remember, it started out with that shot.
Because I
and,
think, as Simon explains, his MO, or its MO, is that he lives in the weak and the wounded. So these are people that are obviously on edge in life. So I guess they're using the phrase weak because he hits his wife, and the wounded because she burnt them with the coffee. That's more like the physical, literal thing. but I think it's just he's so stressed with having this new child and his wife
Right.
and putting food on the table, that it, gave this sort of gateway opening for Simon to come within him, and I think it's just, and I think this film is more about anybody who
I
has
want
that.
Simon to come within him.
I think that it's supposed to be just a note on how anybody who's weak can snap, sort of like.
And also a warning not to have children.
Did you guys feel that there was? Because I don't think there was jump scares in this film. There was like one jump scare, which I think was the dream sequence when he sees the hazmat suit with the blood on it. But I think the rest of it is more like a creepy sort of atmospheric horror to it, which is very rare to see in a movie, because that, for me, that feels a little bit more adult. That's not to
In an American movie, at least.
right, and that's not to that's not. Although I'm trying to figure out what foreign films really have atmosphere horror to it. It's like hard
Every
to find.
Asian film that we've reviewed, basically.
Fair enough. But they usually tend to go over the top gory wise too. Although no, the Korean ones are pretty good. But I think that I think it has a creepy atmosphere that I don't see in any film really, because it's so. It just feels like there's dread in it, and you don't really see dread in films. It's more like
Definitely captured the feeling of The Shining.
like what were parts that stuck out to you, Danny? That was like, Jesus Christ, this is kind of creepy.
The whole part where he's like looking at the pictures and he's like freaking. That guy's just a good actor. Like, that's it. Like, he's a good actor because he's
Gordon?
like freaking out as he's looking at all the pictures of his like babies and shit.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about Gordon or Phil?
Yeah, Gordon.
David, myself, I love that part when Hank was getting all those gold coins, or those old coins, and then he's walking down the corridor and he sees that shadow pop out of the side of the staircase, and he just starts running. Like, I was watching that in the daytime, and I was like, oh Jesus, like it still spooked me out because it's a really unsettling sort of film, and even David Caruso is really utilized really well in this film. He's sort of an actor that had a really shitty air about him, because he used to be in the show called NYPD Blue, and he wanted to be a film actor, and it never worked out for him, so he quit NYPD Blue to be in movies, and he like made one or two movies and then went right to hell. But I think he was making this right after. But I mean, this is a really good movie, and he's very good in the film because he has that sort of, like, Danny's fetish is to watch older actors in horror films, because I understand why, because when you watch, there's a certain feeling towards a film when it's not a bunch of teenagers or adults acting as teenagers running around.
Like, older, mature actors.
It's like
people who know what they're doing.
Right, a perfect example is The Thing, because these are a bunch
like real
of
life too. Like, people aren't always good-looking 20-year-olds. There are like 50-year-olds in these situations too.
And it's also people who treat the material not like it's just a horror movie. That's just sort of like,
yeah, it's like a real movie.
Yeah, they treat it like an actual, like this, and this feels like a very like a character study in some ways.
Right. Yes. It's also like this. Like, there's films like that, like The Invitation, The Thing. This film, there's a certain air to it that's not reliant on jump scares and weird shit. It has elements of it, but there's sort of a respect of the genre. Not to sound like some sort of fucking arrogant asshole, but there's a respect to the acting aspect of the film and the writing that you get by seeing all these men sort of fall apart in their fragility. You know what I mean? But David Caruso is great in this film, and he has the best delivery of "fuck you" in any film of all time. I mean, I saw that.
Somebody clipped that part and put it on YouTube, and I watched it like 10 times.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I saw before I even saw the film. I saw that image, like a GIF of him saying "fuck you" all the time, and it had no audio to it, so I would just always go "fuck you" every time it played, like looped over and over.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah, basically. But it's so funny. He goes, hey, fuck you, and I'm like, what kind of acting is that? But it's still funny, but it's good.
It's perfect.
And there's a hilariously awful scene. Like, these guys who aren't actors obviously did that whole scene, and it's online on YouTube. It's one of the funniest things ever, because then the guy goes, "Hey, fuck you," but like very poorly, and it's worth watching. What did you guys think of Stephen Gavada as Mike, the lawyer?
I'm watching the GIF of "fuck you."
It's really worth watching it. That alone is just worth it. But Mike is a really interesting character. He is creepy. I mean,
he has such a like, I couldn't place him at first. I'm like, he looks like Seth MacFarlane, the guy that made Family Guy.
Yeah, you're right. He does look like that.
And I'm like, is that Seth MacFarlane? And then I realized he's He's like the douchebag guy from Oz that like sells drugs or tries to get one of the guards to smuggle in drugs.
And this
For
film, I think this film does a really good job of red herrings by making everybody sort of look guilty. Not really the Jeff character, the young guy, but it's sort of
Right.
good at kind of pointing at everybody, except for Gordon too. But Gordon's like the most obvious one who would be killing people. Although I don't know if I remember the first time I saw it that's
It honestly
why.
didn't cross my mind that anybody was killing
You
anybody.
thought
I
it was like
thought
ghosts and
like,
stuff.
gonna be like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ghost
When I
or
first
something.
saw it too, yeah, because then I saw it years ago, and then when I saw it again, I was like, completely forgot because I completely forgot Hank actually is walking around, and I was like, oh shit,
and
was he?
the thing's like buried in his head.
Yeah, because he has he has his
Well, because
sunglasses
of the
on,
tension, like in and amongst the group, like with the guys fighting over the girlfriend, and they all sort of seem
hiding
off
something. You're
in
right.
different ways.
And Phil's like reluctance to be upfront about stuff. Like he grabs the phone and talks to the girlfriend, and they're like, "Well, let's talk to her." He goes, "No, I don't have to," because he's getting questioned all the time by Gordon, which is pissing him off. So I guess he has some sort of alpha male thing. They all have alpha male sort of qualities upon them. But I think that was it satisfactory that it was Gordon was the guy doing this, because I think in a lot of films when you find out, oh, the main guy is the asshole, it's sort of like, Jesus, it's like
Nah,
a
it didn't
letdown.
seem
But I think
cliche
it
to
worked.
me. It actually worked out.
Yeah, it worked out
perfect.
for this because I think it was a psychological thriller that you got to know enough of the character's flaws that it made sense, and it wasn't some sort of bullshit where a guy was like I'll say in American Horror Story Hotel, there was a character that had this sort of similar, oh, you're the one that did it all, and it was the worst episode. I wish they could have erased that episode from it, and the show would just be normal the way it was. But it was like there's just movies that don't know how to do the main guy is the killer thing correctly. There's just like very poorly, and this is the only one that I can remember that is really well at it. It's even like there was a Leonardo DiCaprio film where he was like a detective in 1940s in an insane asylum, very much like this. And
Shutter
like
Island.
Shutter Island, and
Shutter Island,
and
yeah.
like it ended up being, oh, he's the so and so of the film, and I was like, oh,
He's
brother,
crazy or whatever.
yeah, and I'm like, you can clearly tell from the fucking beginning, from the first frame of the film, that it's that kind of film. Anytime a character goes to an insane asylum,
It's
you're
gonna be
always
bad,
gonna,
yeah.
you're always gonna kind of guess like, why is he in an insane asylum in the first place? Like,
Anytime a character goes to any large space
right?
with history in it by themselves or with a small group of people, there's something bad's gonna happen. Don't do it, guys. What the fuck? And then you're gonna listen to tapes of a crazy person.
Danny, that's
and it's all like messed up, so it sounds weird. Like what? What are you just tempting the devil?
This has been the PSA hour with Danny Albert.
I would love to see a movie with Danny just warning people throughout the whole movie not to do it.
Nobody
Please,
would listen to me. They'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go off by myself in the woods." I'd be like, "Why? Don't do it. There's gonna be a tree that's gonna rape you or something."
So-
Gordon!
Gordon. So, are there any negative things about this film that you guys felt didn't work?
I mean, no, for what it is, it was good. It could have
I-
gone
I
a little further.
I think I liked it.
Danny, is it at
Yeah,
all?
I've seen it 3 times, so I'm assuming she loves it.
Danny, is it an all-white cast that bothered you? It's 2016, buddy. Come on.
Well,
Anyway.
An all male white cast?
it
all
depicts
cis-
them as they are, and people that go crazy to kill.
These are all Trump supporters, an all cisgendered
That's right.
white male cast. How dare they? But no, what did you guys think of Gordon's breakdown towards the end? I thought that was like the best acting when he goes, "I am fucking
he's
awake."
a fucking
great.
great actor, this guy.
Yeah.
He's like that guy should be on Game of Thrones. Was he on Game of Thrones yet? I think every Irish actor should be on Game of Thrones. I think he's Scottish actually. Every European actor should be on Game of Thrones,
It
especially
took me a
this guy.
while to place his accent, actually. At first I thought he just had like a weird voice.
No, I liked it that he was like, and I'm sure the film companies back then, although I guess when they made this film in the first place, they were okay with it because a movie like this now they're like, why is he got to be Scottish? Why can't he be a regular American shit like that? But anyway, to go
They'll
back,
have to they'll have to remake a much shittier version of the movie
That's
to
right.
correct his accent.
but as to go back to they dub it all. But to go back just very quickly, that having a character in an insane asylum, they removed it by him just being an asbestos cleaner at an insane asylum instead of having to check in. But anyway, do we have any final words on this, Thea?
We gotta rate it. We gotta give it a rating.
Yeah, no shit. Theo, you have any?
What a jerk.
Do you have any final words on this movie?
As somebody who really loves, I really love audio drama in general.
Very good.
So the audio segments of this movie, I think, are worth the price of admission.
Did you love Pontypool?
I did a lot. I
Yeah,
really love that
Pontypool
movie.
is another
Okay, 'cause
film.
that's like totally like an audio.
I know. I love it so much.
Pontypool is another great example of really well done audio effects. And if you can go, I think on YouTube or you can go online and they actually cut the whole film into a BBC audio production. So they
It started. That's actually how it started. That was the original.
right. So but they actually
I mean, honestly, it basically is all just watching a guy talk in a booth. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like
And
great.
it works.
it's a couple of books that Pontypool series. I think it's 2 or 3 books, and they made an audio drama. Then they made the film, and then they recut the film into an audio drama. So it sort of works out. Anyway, Danny, your final thoughts on this movie?
I think they could have gone a little further, but for what it is, I like it a lot.
In what way would you have liked to see it gone further?
I mean, I keep thinking of The Shining, and then I'm like, oh, but The Shining is like hands down a better movie.
But I mean,
know?
They also had a bigger budget.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, like, you know, it was a very good movie for what it is, for what they did. It's great, but not enough happens. Maybe.
You mean
really?
like visually they could have done more like sort of bizarre
Like
things?
you would have
or-
They
wanted
could have done more bizarre things. The deaths could have been a little more gruesome.
I think it would have been a little bit over.
There's so much build-up, which is great, but then when it finally is like, okay, he's a killer, it's like you just see Mike like bloody for like 10 seconds. Like, make it more gruesome. Then
I think
for,
the
like,
fact that it didn't show anything, and then at the very end, him pulling that device. I mean, that whatever the fuck that was. That's
yeah,
not a
no,
scalpel.
they could have gone that level with all of them.
I think
but
that
they
was
didn't.
enough.
I think it's stronger because
Yeah,
it was
right,
so sparing
exactly.
with
I
it.
think that it was more respectful to how this story was told. That it didn't need all that gore and stuff. I understand what Danny's saying. That could have been more hardcore violent, but I like the way it played out. And that, so when that one action happens, when he's pulling that device out of the guy's eye, it was really grotesque because
yeah.
you weren't used to it through the rest of the film. Like, it actually got very
No,
graphic.
not to the rest. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
one like,
yeah,
5-minute section
yeah.
could have been more packed to it.
Yeah. So there was also this part.
Good, sure.
So anyway, two little funny things is that David Caruso's Phil, the actor who played Phil, he said that he saw something fly outside of the window, but he couldn't tell the crew because he felt like they would look like him, like he was an asshole. And then also the actor who played Gordon was on a rooftop, and he heard a voice tell him to jump off the roof. So that's pretty kooky. And a big storyline element they cut out of the film was there was a homeless woman who was supposed to be going around the building. And they actually cut her whole character out. So if there's some weird sequences in the film, but because they said that the audience that watched it thought that was Mary, the lady on the audio tapes.
Yeah, that could be confusing.
So they caught that out of the film, and apparently
It's
really
better with just those guys anyway.
something really awful too is supposedly after Gordon has killed every guy, she was supposed to kill him at the end, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad they cut that out because that would have been really bad. That's like some sort of shitty 80s.
That was weird.
Yeah, but anyway, with that, what ratings do we give this, guys? Thea, you go first.
I'm gonna give it 8.5 Gordons out of 10.
Oh, look at that!
I'm gonna give
Stealing
it.
my fucking line. Gordon!
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. Hey, fuck you, Danny.
Okay, I'm gonna give it. You guys took all the good ones.
Scumbag.
How come I always get
I
left
took
high?
one that wasn't even in the movie.
I know. I'm gonna give it. I will give it an 8.5. 8.5.
Listen to
Bringing
him.
in
Listen to
Larry
that acting.
Fessbender, or however you say his name, just to
Festin.
kill him immediately.
With that, Thea, what's the final word?
Bling.
Danny, what's the final word?
Space pooch.
Space pooch. I thought you said space cooch, which would have been much more funny.
That is what I said.